Architecture is a wicked problem. You can't have peace. There's no peace for the wicked.
Hello everyone, I am Abraham Kolade and welcome to Aki, Abraham Kolade's Insights. I am super excited. This is the first in a series of sessions where we will be addressing various topics that come up in designers' conversations and discussions prevalent in our industry. In today's session, we are going to be delving into transitioning from education to practice. And in today, we'll be discussing real life transitions after school, the incredible benefits of education and training, upcoming trends, and mind blowing technologies, and of course, some bold perspectives and actionable advice.
In today's session, I have Eugene and Edes. So Edes is our Yankee architect.
Put me.
That's right. That's right.
She was an architect. She did construction management. Then she's back to architecture. Glory be to God. So she'll be sharing some unique perspectives with us. And we also have Eugene, who, like me, has explored diverse design paths in this life. We've done it all. And I think Eugene, you do product design now and AR/VR, right?
Yeah. AR/VR product design, but then still architecture is still a core part of what I do actually. Yeah.
Cool. Makes sense. So
I can't remember.
What is it?
I can't remember if I saw something about Eugene on user interface design, UI UX.
Yeah, definitely. He's a mentor.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was 100 level. So it was probably one of my first classes. And Professor Amole, for those who went to OAU, he came up, ARC 101, what is architecture?
Yeah.
Right? And architecture is the art and science of the design of buildings and whatnot, right? And the truth is, beyond architecture now, even for any design-oriented field, you realize that there's a science aspect to it, right? I mean, let's even say we're using fashion design. You need to source for materials. You need to think about texture, colors, quantities, and all of that. And the way most people, the way business want to pay is if they are providing value. And the value has to be quantifiable. You can't just be pushing pixels and doing fancy stuff if it's not translating to value for the business or the clients. And in the times that we're living in, where it just seems like things are really changing rapidly, there's a lot of emerging technologies and all. Most people find themselves in this space where they're like, is my job going to be relevant and all of that. And I think, for people coming through like uni, or for people who are just interning in, let's say, design companies and whatnot, it can be very, scary for them because they're like, especially with technologies like AI now, for example. And I think that was what really led me to really go that, okay, you know what, we need to have this conversation. Being a designer, is it relevant anymore? And that was why I was like, okay, no, don't be a designer.
Yeah. So this is into a theory that I always put out. As the reason we are all saying this is because of something that is common in every architectural school, whether it's locally or in the diaspora. I've always said that there are 5 kinds of students in an architecture class, right? Especially 4, but there are about 5. There is the set that is art driven, the artistic set of students. They are the ones that are very science driven, very good in physics, chemistry, in that they could have actually studied engineering, but they preferred architecture. So you have that. Then you have the third students that are generally intelligent students, you know, generally good for when they study, you know, but they are not, you know, naturally so artistic, but you know, they like architecture, and so they architecture. Then there's the fourth set of students that are very good artistically, and their IQ is very high for science, you know. Those are the fourth students. The fifth set of students are those that don't belong to any of these, but they're in the class with us, right? So because you have to, it took going through classes, actually, you know, not practicing some to understand who you are or who we were. You understand? You know, because the thing about when we entered school, there was always that enthusiasm, and school now entered us. So, and for some it went south, you know. But when you are in the program or in a class, and for those that had the foresight to really know themselves before they entered school, they were able to like work on their flaws faster. While those took school and bring them, you know, some of them, you know, got better, or they had to like just go into something else, divest into something. So it's the same thing I did everywhere. I was very artistic type, very artistic. I also am generally, you know, I could have studied, I wanted to study medicine, but then I was like, because of how strong I was as an artist, I knew this is not a hobby. You understand? So that's why you could also be a graphics designer. You could also, if you have a techie, you know, you have that, you know, you still have the physics and maths thing, you know, going, you could actually write faster than someone who is just going to study it from scratch, like with an artistic personality. And that's why you have some people that are very, very, they are not super artistic, but, or even like super, you know, but if they put in the work, right, they are the ones that you end up seeing being very dogged on site. They are good with technical details. They are not even, you draw the facade, let the building be like this or that, but let it not have one thing like this on top. No problem. So you have to, you'll figure that out. And it is the truth at each level that helps you find yourself. So it's everywhere. So the reason why we all come into the pot of architecture is to sharpen and blend. And that happens. That's what it's supposed to be, but sometimes it doesn't fully get, the refining process does not get through and through. And then some of us have to go out of school and figure out, or not practice mainstream architecture, they will do something else. So in a summary, really, those four sets of students are always in every class, every year, every decade. The only thing is that they all love architecture. So artistic, scientific, generally brilliant, but neither super artistic or scientific. Then the one that is mad, super artistic and scientific, and then none of the above, but they all love architecture. Inside this none of the above is the Nigerian factor. Those that yes, jammed. and I had of my seniors tell me from pre-degree that they were going for something else, but it's architecture that's, you know. So so why you can be a designer, you can be any other thing.
I think, especially with the way the world is now, people need to stop allowing what they studied to box them into a particular, because I mean, even this whole idea of career path in quotes is somebody that just came up with the educational system. At the end of the day, there are certain things that you just have affinity to, right? And if you're fortunate to have a undergrad degree or training, or even an internship that helps you to channel that passion, then you don't have to. So I think that was the mistake that is the mistake that people still make, where they're like, I spent like 6 years, I spent like 4 years doing this course, and will I just drop it? And I don't know if it's a cultural thing or it's like it's general, but I think the more people try to or start to realize that, see, at the end of the day, you know, imagine someone who studied, let's say, psychology or English. We now say, oh, because you cannot find any good English teaching paying job, you won't work or something. You know, when I was having some conversations with some friends of mine in school, they asked or they heard some of these complaints, and I'll just read them out. So maybe we'll just talk about them a bit. And I think I shared them earlier.
Related to that, we can just answer it all together.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, sure. So I think so. Okay, Cruz is asking that is it advisable to switch career path considering your age and not having any past experiences? For me, yeah, I personally, I'm a disruptor. If I'm feeling like doing something, I'll just close my eye and do it. As long as I am willing to, do the research, and I'm willing to go through whatever pains it takes to do it. Because at the end of the day, you only live once. Might as well live enjoying doing what you're doing, And the truth is, you can be successful with anything. Though there are some things that are due to trends and all.
Yeah.
They seem like they have more money. But there are people that do the most ridiculous things and make money. It is money, so.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. So, we have to be practical. Many of us are working to earn a living, to pay bills and all that. It's just more fun when you're working, doing what you love or what you like or what you enjoy doing. A career path, it always comes at a price. You need to just sit down. What is the price?
Am I willing to pay the price?
It's out there. I may be jobless for a few months if I just switch. I may need to do some studies, do a course, do something to be able to enter. And if I enter, I may actually now start from a lower level, or it will not be direct. How about I start doing this course, working where I'm at, and then try to get some networks that, might help me so that I don't have a time lag in unemployment. You have to do the emotional and then look at the real logical reason. At the end of the day, it will lead to what he is saying, that you really don't want to be unfulfilled, right?
Yeah.
So you just ask yourself, what is the price? Can I live with the price? How do I give myself a soft landing so it's not too hard for me? And let me give you an example. I worked with some company, right? And here, construction and architecture are really separate industries. They meet at the table during projects, but it's not like Nigeria where you are, but in another project you are the site supervisor. Construction, the builders and whatever is a separate industry from. Of course, the architects show up on site, but they don't do site supervision. Like they show up on site, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's not like an architect is also a builder. That's the way I should do it over here. It's not the same in many other countries. In South America, parts of Europe, it's similar to what in Nigeria. So when I really, 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 really wanted to be a licensed architect. So I needed to eventually work in an architectural firm, because it's also like this requirements, that your hours are signed off by a licensed architect and, not just any other industry person. So when coming in, I expected my salary, but they have to make understand that, look, we see that you have experience, but do you have relevant experience to this? Because I was also doing architecture in the construction firm and all that, but not just architecture, but this firm, the cadre of work with, because not even every architectural applicant they will even still take. They probably will take some that have some similar line of experience, software usage, BIM exposure, So it's like, so for that reason, you will probably start at the same level as you were, but it's so that you can catch up on certain things. But you're more mature person are more of an immature emerging architect than the people that are actually coming on the entry level. So their expectation is, I'm going to start at that level, but I'm not going to take the number of months or years to start doing work. So it's just like a extended probation. So that's why I say, what's the price to be paid? Because if it was just the money, I could have remained where I was and gotten promotion commensurate with my whatever. So the onus is now on me to like, coming in, I'm going to understand how things are done here. I'm going to get that rudimentary whatever for a couple of months. But the maturity of my experience cannot be taken from me. So let it come through, right? Now that I've understood how they are, when I bring that experience together, I'll be on this level as I have been from the beginning. You know, so it was a price, and I don't regret paying that price. You know,
people in this part of the world might say something different, but thank God for your life.
Because I'm just saying, people that my age that started before I did, obviously, are now me or were ahead of me. Do you understand? It doesn't. I had experience, construction experience. They don't. So there's another table that we sit in or sit on that. Do you understand? So, you know. So yeah, sorry for that long. So yeah.
So I think, which is actually, I think anywhere that where things work, you know, sanely, I think that's actually how it's actually supposed to happen. And even in many parts of Nigeria, I think it's also obtainable in the same manner. I think for the guy that asked that question, I think the first question, just like Edes Ben talked about, the first response should actually be thinking about why am I doing this? If your motivation is money, chances are that if you switch career, you know, at some particular time, you might actually regret it, in the sense that there is no guarantee in any career, even tech, that you are going to, you know, blow the kind of blow that we usually see on Twitter all the time. Yeah, I've seen that. I know a couple of people that have blown that kind of blow. But, you know, the chances are not, you know, as it was 5 years ago. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's such
funding for many. Okay, so because I'm building a product, I know that funding is not like it was in 2019 or 2018. Yeah. Funding for companies. So so many founders are bootstrapping right now. So, you know, switching careers at some time, you have to really think about what is your motivation for this, because that's what will keep you going, right? If you really like another profession, you like architecture, and you really want to switch, you know, then by all means go ahead, and that's what will keep you going for the next 5 years, where you're still earning like an entry level, you know, individual. And if money is your goal, keep pushing and keep doing the things that, like Edes said, you know, how do I put this now? When consequences, you know, are clear, then decision making becomes easy. Yeah. So you already know, you know, why you are doing what you want to do. You want to switch career because you want more money. All right. I know people that have been in, you know, certain careers, architects, for example, even construction people. You know, when we're architects, you know, there was this phrase flying around that if you want the money, go into construction and all of that. I know people that have been in construction for 30 years, 35 years, and they are still pretty much average. But you see, the issue is, why do you feel like they're not fulfilled? Why do you describe their average as something that is, you know, bad? You know, for you, then they are okay. They are doing what they're doing. They are not going after excessive profit and things like that. So you just think about your own why. And if you really enjoy the field, and you know, for so many people, they won't enjoy any field if it doesn't come with the money. So if that's your motivation, that's fine. What do you need to do to be able to make that kind of money in that field, right? And go for it. You know the consequences already. It's going to be easy for you to make decisions. Yeah. You know, and then you like Ede said, you have to, regardless of, you know, the path you actually take, you have to now keep adapting at that very point. If you have to take a course, you have to take 2 courses. Yeah. You know, you have to go to someone and tell the person that you want to, you know, you want that person to mentor you. I mean, it's worth it. When I wanted to go into product design, I already know how to graphic design, to a very large extent. But then I met someone, as an established product designer in the field, and I told him that, do you know what? I want you to mentor me because this is my goal, in this regard. I want to explore this field. I want to be able to, touch down here, touch down here, touch down here, and and this person was able to guide me. Okay, do you know what? Let's have like a roadmap, right? At this point we do this. At this point we check in and do this and all of that. So I think the first things first, just check out what your why is. What do you want to achieve, right? And then go ahead to, make a decision and go ahead with it. It's going to be difficult for some people. If you're married, for example, and you have kids, you have some kind of responsibilities. I'm saying this because I had this experience with someone, someone I was mentoring online on ADP list, and we got talking, and at some point when I suggested breaking into a field by interning, just intern with the company. If by in 1 year, 2 years you've been pursuing this particular career and you've not had any headway, no one is hiring you or stuff like that. Yeah. Why not just start to intern with the company? At least you have the experience after like 6 months, and you can make use of that experience to apply somewhere else and stuff like that. Like, and he can't. He has thought of it, but he can't. Why? He's married. He has 2 kids. He has rent to pay. He has mouths to feed and stuff like that. So, like Ede said, you have to think it through. You have to think about what you have to lose if you go ahead, because sometimes don't go and lose your home because you want to switch career, right? Think it through. Think about everything that will be involved, and if you you will need help, reach out for help.
But the other difficult to achieve the main you're looking for in that thing that you're interested in, right? So it will not be a quick move like everybody, like a younger person would. Yeah. So I know Kola has some questions outlined for us so that we don't.
Yeah. So the first one is that said they were having difficulties understanding and managing real life design projects. So this is from the younger designers, right? So that was the first thing. Second thing, said that he had concerns about job stability based on experiences shared by older colleagues. I also mentioned that they were struggling with trying to balance their learnings with taking on personal projects, PPs, and all of that. And then challenges adapting to the professional work environment after the learning period. And also, like, what do you think? How was it like for you, especially regarding this aspect?
Okay, I hope I remember all the questions. So when it was one of those that didn't do DE. So when we got into school, we were fresh from the pot. We enjoyed 100 level, Mama's class, Professor Mama's class, Introduction to Architecture. But I guess the period of entered this architecture was 200 level. So it was a bit overwhelming because I remember not being very understanding how to cut a section. I'm sorry if I'm speaking over the head of a lot of people that are not architecture, but it's still the same thing. Like when you get into a design, any other design, this thing, when it was DIY, when you learn things yourself and you get into a setting where things are very structured in the usage of programs and all that, it may be, but it's not, to me, it's not so much like you're a fish out of water, just that when you're doing designs in school and it is not like you're in an environment where such construction is happening, or you have your teachers giving you that exposure by virtue of portions or whatever, when you now get into the field, you've never heard how certain new cladding materials can be used. You understand? You've only designed concrete and blocks, with a those kinds of things, like how things that are really currently happening now, and those things can be. But I feel, regardless of pros and cons of every architectural college or design school, it is all foundation. It's not total white and black, right? Probably white and light.
So what would you advise someone who is thinking like, like all these things in their head, like they are seeing stuff that they are doing out there, and they're like, they know that they are not, it's just expressions and sweet that they are doing. Like, how does someone with that mindset now, let's say, have some kind of peace or some kind of sanity around the whole situation, especially like considering the difference between where they are now?
Cannot have peace. Architecture is a wicked problem. You can't have peace. There's no peace for this.
No, but I think that no matter where you are, you will catch up. So just go through it. Don't lose your curiosity, but go through it, right? It take that long to catch up. There's no need to lose your peace, but don't lose your core. Don't lose your curiosity. Don't lose your drive. You understand? If you bring something that a lecturer has not even seen, if you understand it works and you explain it, they will agree with you. Do you understand? You keep expecting that they should be ones to, because they are also right. So if you have a system, you know that they will ask questions. So how about you just be sure of the steps, create details, get a cut sheet from the internet, whatever, if you explain it, right?
I think it's the same thing. I think it's so profound. I think it's the same thing with almost anything in life, really. When you're starting out, I mean, let's even take product design, for example. If you're learning Figma, or let's say you did one Google Coursera course, that journey or that difference from learning to actually building an actual product, there are two different things. All the things that you think you know, when you're dealing with real life clients, real life constraints, dependencies, and all of that, you realize that it's almost night and day. But then you just need to, everybody went through that phase, even the so-called professionals. At some point, they were at that stage where they didn't really know anything, right? And they entered and they tried to do mago and figured it out. And now everybody is coming pro. But everyone started from that place where they're like extreme novices, to a large extent. So, I mean, I think for me, that's just, very profound. Eugene, I want to ask, what would you say to someone who is thinking about job stability and, let me give an example. In Nigeria, where we are, the person who sells the land, like real estate companies are doing well because they are the ones selling, they are the ones, and you that you probably have a design background, they're like, these guys are doing rubbish, but they are making the money, right? So how does someone, especially someone learning, the person might be in school, the person might be learning on his own, how do they try to make sense of the whole situation?
So, well, I think the first things first is, I think it's important to approach the whole situation, with a curious mind, right? You need to approach it with curiosity. When you get into your first job, and it happened to me, right? I was fresh from school, finished MSc, and I went to Abuja. And when I joined the first company, there's always this feeling that every young architect has, like you're making 3Ds and you're making presentation designs and you feel like, man, I'm good, I'm doing well. And then you do your first design for the firm, and the principal architect, you're hearing things like, we can't submit it, we can't take this for submission. And somehow the senior architects in the firm come up with a design overnight just to make sure that we have something befitting to submit. And you start feeling like, what's wrong with what I did, right? And then at some point you begin to realize that actually 3Ds are not, what is really, really. So you need to, adaptability is defined as the ability to, conform to changing situations and environments. I think that's what you need to approach every situation you come across with once you leave school, right? Because the learning still continues. I'm still learning now. I'm lecturing BIM, right? But then I am still learning. I still go online. I still check through the standards to make sure that everything, we're talking about is in line with, what is the most recent practice. You know about it. I started coding. I was learning coding, right? And we're doing it in AR and VR design. So you have to be able to adapt to the changing, atmosphere, the changing environment, So the first thing I think is just keep learning, keep growing, right? And then another very, very important part that a lot of us really did not take seriously was networking, right? Back in school. You realize that, later on at some point, we kind of wish that we can go back to, network more, build more relationships, because somehow, to a very large extent, these are some of the things that are turning the needle right now. It's more about, you find people that don't even know how to do 3Ds. Sorry to say, I'm apologizing in advance, but people that that the class kind of relegate to, like, this one knows how to be a big, right? They are the ones getting the contract and giving us 3Ds and drawings to do. I would do the drawings and their names are on those drawings.
Some people were better managers. They were not trying to, but they were intelligent. So yeah, that is the same.
So I think we needed to, not have that mindset, especially as students, just be an all-round networker, have good relationships with people, and let them know that, okay, you know how to do this thing, and that you are actually a very good person to work with, and that you are a good manager, like Ebes talked about, right? So I think all of that are the things I should be thinking about: being a good manager and approaching every situation with curiosity, right? So that you can keep being sharp, at what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that's very profound. I think even generally design, not just even architectural design generally, because you are dependent on someone to give you a job. It's not like, let's say, a doctor, where if somebody's sick, they'll come to you.
Yeah, I want to emphasize what he said about networking. What they used to tell us then was, they should have talked to us about the business of architecture. Because some people are better at that. You are the one that can draw the life. There are people that walk into a place and command attention, tell you that we do this, we do this, we do that. They are not physically going to do it. They are going to hide. But one thing they really tell us so much about is networking, because there are so many other good architects or product designers like you. So why should they come to you? Our field doesn't even allow us to advertise on the same level as other, So relationship is not just what you do, it's how you make people feel about what.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't ever get like I read or heard Maya Angelou will say, someone may forget what you say, may forget what you did to them, but they will not forget how you made them feel.
I think a big part of that has to also do with communication, because I realize, I might be wrong, but most people who are like designers in quotes are usually very into themselves. I mean, I am.
So my firm assigns mentors to people, and one of the mentors that I mean, you choose who you would like to be on, and they give first come first serve basis. So my mentor happens to be someone who is not a talkative, a calm man, very calm man. And he will take me to networking industry events. And if I'm a quiet person and I can talk, you can. So he's not. So there are levels to the networking. It's not compulsory that you are the entertainer.
Yeah.
You are very vocal. You can talk to someone and talk to them. Nobody hears what you're saying. So you can be a soft talker. But do you have the audacity to try to say, how do you work? I work at so place. Well, how you enjoy the event so far, and then you start. It might not be the kind of person that knows how to walk into a place and everybody will just know papa, the guy that knows how to get it done. Your PR skills are on point, because personality varies. So while you work on some parts of your personality to be a little more, you cannot change the core of your nature. You understand? And so whether you're soft, you're not extrovertive, the thing you get done. That's just put that out.
What controversial take do you have? My personal controversial take is that design is out. No, I'm kidding. My controversial take is that people actually relate to you more if you solve problems than if you are good. Like, if they think that you can solve their problems, they'll rate you over someone who is good. So that's for me. And
you mean good at a job or good at just being a good person?
No, good at the job. Like, if you can try to make people feel, like you said, that you can solve their problem, they'll rate you over someone who is not able to show them, even if the person is better. So that's for, and it hurts because for the longest time in my life I used to think I was very good, like that was enough. But unfortunately, there's so much more work to be done, beyond. You have to really be able to convince someone that you can solve their problem. So what do you think, Eugene? What is something that I think is like, or something that's thought-provoking?
First off, I want to just rephrase what you said in a general sense. Just so instead of if you can solve problems, there are a lot of actors that are solving problems. But if you make it like, if you are able to make people's lives easier, or if you are able to make people lazy, you'll be rich.
True.
In the sense that just create solutions that will make people not kind of indirectly tells people that you don't have to get up out of your chair to be able to pick that cup from the table, right? That's what, and that is why the real estate guys are making a lot more money regardless of the type of buildings they are putting out there, because a lot of people that are buying real estate are not buying it because they want to stay there. They are buying it because it's a way to tie down wealth, number one, and it's a way to actually show that they are wealthy. So you're making them feel like, okay, they can store their money here, and the money is not going to, inflation is not going to catch up with the money and stuff like that. These things are making people feel like these are the things that the rich people are thinking about.
Sure.
And if you are in that, if you are in their thoughts when they are thinking about getting rich, I mean, so yeah, in a way that's one of those.
First of trying to look for the land and build it, look for an architect. So you're coming to them. Some people are coming to them with a building that is paved. I'm sorry to people who don't toe this line of thought, but I'm kind of an eco-friendly or sustainability person. And maybe, it's just 100% paved and you have artificial grass in one corner. And actually speaking, it would have been better.
Yeah.
But they don't care about that,
Hey guys, apologies. Instagram kicked us out. So, Edith, you were saying.
So I think in a nutshell, what I'm saying is people in the real estate space, or people who are also very thoughtful in their architecture, have to have a way to also kill these two birds with a stone, so that your intentional architecture is sellable. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I think that's the challenge, or the next objective that we should all be going for. Yeah.
Amazing. Eugene, what would you say are upcoming trends or technologies people should pay attention to?
So, in terms of trends and technologies that people or architects in specific need to pay attention to, in terms of trends, I would suggest sustainable design, right? That is learning green building practices, familiarize yourself with LEED certification, BREEAM certification, and all of those other certifications and all of that. And also biophilic design, which is basically incorporating nature into the built environment or into buildings, right? And then prefabricated construction or modular construction. There are different types anyway. There's the panelized, there's the volumetric, there's sub-assemblies, which is, building specific parts of buildings, in the factory, and then bringing them to sites to install and things like that. I think if architects get to know about these trends, right, they will be better positioned for the industry today, because these are the things that companies are looking at. These are the areas that companies are, delving into, right? And in terms of technology, two specifically that I am, exploring is the AR and VR technologies, and BIM, building information modeling and parametric design, right? In terms of AR and VR technology, the way companies and individuals visualize and present their designs are changing drastically, right? You need to be familiar with AR and VR tools, because that's what is being used now in terms of training, on-site training, visualization that goes beyond just the building, but furniture design and incorporation into the spaces. Also, in terms of visualizing the construction site itself, right? So you get to site, we are now able to visualize the whole construction process from the beginning to the end, right? And then BIM, in the sense of being able to work in a collaborative environment from conception down to facility management, right? Where you have a digital twin of the building, and everyone on the team have real-time assets that they can use in monitoring and maintaining the building. I think BIM should actually be the number one thing that every architect right now should keep abreast with, right? It's the industry standard right now. So proficiency in BIM is highly beneficial on every front. So yeah, I think in terms of technology, BIM, number one, AR, VR technologies, and then some other things that you need to keep in mind: biophilic design, sustainable design, use of prefabricated components, and all of that. And then also learn parametric design or generative design, right, where you are able to add in prompts, and then you prompts or formulas, and then you create complex forms, that adjust with the change in the environment, or or certain other parameters. An example is some of the buildings now that have adjustable shading or adjustable forms, right? And then, if you're familiar with all of that, I'm sure you are, already positioned for the future.
Thank you both for your candid insights. This conversation has been incredibly enlightening. Remember, guys, as we navigate the world of design, there is definitely peace of mind for the designer, unlike the architects, but that's another story. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more engaging conversations. Until next time.